right, welcome back to Morning Express. It is now 26 minutes to 9 o'clock. We are coming to you live from the KICC, where we're going to be covering the 4th annual general meeting for NSSF. And maybe in the background, you can hear the choir warming up their voices for what is going to be the 4th AGM taking place at the amphitheater right here at the KICC. On set with me this morning is the CEO for NSSF. And, well, basically, we're looking at some of the benefits that you can reap from the NSSF as we continue. And remember, if you have any questions, feel free to send them through. We'll be more than happy to see whether we can answer them as we can continue. Anthony Omerikwa is the CEO, and he's on mute. Said now, before we took the break, we were looking at some of the benefits that we have. And one of the questions I've seen via Twitter is on the benefits, when you're getting your benefits at the end of your working life or when you retire. Do you get shilling for shilling, or are there is there an added percentage that you get out of the contributions that you've made?
Actually, the principal is there, obviously. Then there's an interest rate, which is computed annually. Actually, we do an actuarial evaluation annually. Then we declare the interest rate. I must be quick to say that unprecedentedly, 2 years ago, NSF gave the highest interest rate across the market at 12.5%. This fluctuates up and down considering our asset class distribution. We are very big in the stock exchange, Nairobi Stock Exchange, and you know very well how it's been performing in the past couple of years. So the interest rate fluctuates. So to answer your question, we give you the principal plus a handsome interest.
Plus a handsome interest.
Yes,
now, there are those who have had allegations of non-payment, but also before we get to the non-payment, we had Francis Atwoli basically coming out to say that there had been 11 billion worth of coffers, basically, that has been misappropriated or not accounted for. And let's listen into what Atwoli had to say before we can get comments from the CEO.
Currently, Mrimi had asked my committee of audit, I chair audit committee, to unearth any malpractices that might have taken place when the board was not in place. And currently we are narrowing down to almost 11 billion Kenya shillings. 11 billion Kenya shillings, which might have gotten lost at the NSSF when the board was not there. And during that time, the managing trustee was a Mr. Langat. Mr. Richard Kipkoech Langat was the managing trustee at that time. He was the man in charge.
So, Anthony, allegations there by Francis Atwoli that 11 billion shillings might be missing from the coffers or not accounted for. Your comments to that and the accountability levels that we have at the NSSF to ensure that this money does not go into bad hands?
Thank you very much. I'd adulate area that such events, which are legacy issues as those, is what necessitated the fund to come up with the new act. The new act is very robust and is very definite and very focused on governance. Now, more than ever, the constitution of the board is predefined in the act. It's a tripartite consisting of qualified Kenyans who take care of the funds. The board is made up of a tripartite, the most populous workers' union, employers, and the government. It creates a check and balance scenario in running the affairs of the fund. Secondly, we are robustly and thoroughly audited by the Auditor General's Office. Because of the legacy issues, we've been a focus of other investigating arms of the government, including the ESCC. And I must assure you that other than the legacy issues which we keep talking about, in the past 5 years, I don't think there's been any issue that would worry the contributors in terms of governance. Secondly, and most importantly, unlike historically, nowadays, and it's prescribed in the RBA Act, the investment component of the fund is done by professional fund managers, which is a full-time job. Historically, we used to invest the money directly ourselves, Nowadays, we give it to the fund managers. We have 5 competent, competitively recruited fund managers who do our investment for us. This very occasion here, the 4th AGM, is a testament that we've opened up ourselves to scrutiny. We publish our books of accounts to the public. We give them a chance to ventilate on it, and they see where their money is. If there had been any historical issues, actually they've appeared in our accounts, and the public has been able to digest and ventilate on it. That notwithstanding, we are still trying to clean our house. There's some issues that happened as far back as 1994, 1997, 2000, that we are still working on. Most of these things are still being handled by the respective arms of governments. Some investigations are going on, and we'll get to the bottom of it. And when we do, we'll make it public.
Okay.
Yes.
And since the NSSF invests the money on behalf of the contributors,
yes,
yet when it comes to payment, we don't seem to have that reflected on the payment. What happens to the excess? What happens to the money that is invested and makes more money out of it?
Actually, like I alluded to you earlier, we normally do an actuarial evaluation. The interest rate that we apportion to every member is derived from the profits that we make from our investments.
Okay.
Yes.
And there have been cases of non-payment. What is it that would cause for somebody not to get their monies, yet they have been contributing?
Actually, I must be quick to say that those are historical issues. Nowadays, our promise to our customers is that we'll endeavor to pay you within 12 days. In some cases where the claims lodged are straightforward, no gaps in the statement, we can even pay in a day. What normally extends the payment period is a scenario you talked about earlier. You come for your payment and we realize there are gaps in your statement. And that's why we want to encourage everyone, please be looking at your statement, so that upon retirement, when you come to lodge your claim, there are no gaps in your statement, your claim is straightforward, we pay promptly. We can even pay in a day.
Now, when there are gaps, what happens? I mean, for instance, I might be employed, and there are different parts of my life where maybe I was not employed, and as a result, I was not contributing.
I mean, if it's a gap for non-employment that went over, there might be a view that it takes long for us to pay claims. In the recent years and in the past couple of months, the only kind of benefit payment that portends a challenge is the one for dependents. Yes, you know how our society is. The contributor passes on. A first wife shows up, a second wife shows up, and trying to mitigate that takes a lot of time. We've been doing an average of 14 days in terms of payment, including those had to pay cases.
When you're paying it to dependents. And who are the qualified dependents? You've mentioned wife, but in a case where maybe there is no wife, can the children also get the benefits?
Actually, and this is a fervent effort we're making nowadays to ensure that you update your nominee forms. Yeah, in many cases, and this is a very valid example, you realize that when people start working, they are bachelors and they still live in their parents' house. In many instances, you find people have put their mothers as the next of kin, yet they went ahead, got married and have children. Yes. So part of the sensitization that we do, and actually we rolled out 100 days sensitization program last year called Need Time, encouraging people to come and update your nominees, check your statements, and of course, add the contributions in terms of voluntary contributions.
All right, and still on updating of details, how often can I do that, and can I do that remotely? Do I have to come to NSSF to do that, or can I do that from the comfort of my home, maybe online? Actually,
the nominee form, online you can check your statements. But for the nominee form, because of like any other financial institution, when you want to change your beneficiaries, it's prudent and important that it's on record and signed. So you have to avail yourself to one of our offices and undertake that.
Okay. How do you come up with the amounts to be contributed? What determines it? The amount of money that I earn, like tax, like payee?
Okay. Thank you. Actually, there's the ideal, which is enshrined in the Act, that is a matter in court. In that Act, we are envisioning we had an implementation period of 5 years. We were envisioning that at the end of the 5th year of implementation, that you'd be contributing 6% of your pensionable emoluments. You give 6%, your employer gives 6%. Yes. You know, for the longest time, people have been contributing 400. And even if you contribute 400, 400 times a year, that is only 4,800. If you worked for 30 years, that is not enough money. Even if we load up the interest, that is not enough money to give you a decent livelihood after retirement. Yes. We intend to give you a compensation beyond retirement that will maintain your lifestyle. Yes.
Okay.
A replacement of over 70%.
All right. Yeah. Now, for the cases of those who possibly don't have a regular form of income, you maybe are in the Juakali sector and you don't have a regular way of, getting your income. Are there provisions to, sort of accommodate that kind of income?
Actually, that is a category that falls under voluntary contribution. I must tell you, our focus now are geared towards tapping into the informal sector. As you know very well, the formal sector constitutes only 2.5 million. As the Kenya Bureau of Statistics says, the employed people out there are 18 million. So the difference between these two is the informal sector. The challenge is that these people in the informal sector don't have a permanent address. But we've made provisions for them to make voluntary contribution through M-Pesa. And the uptake has been slow, but we are sensitizing people on that too.
What's the procedure of contributions via M-Pesa?
You just, we have an M-Pesa collection number. You log into the number and put in your credential in terms of your NSSF number. Yeah, then the next motions are very clear. It will ask you for details, then you do the pay up. Yes.
And you can do that as often as you like. Does it have to be monthly? On a good month where maybe I'm getting good income, can I spike up my contribution for it?
You can do it as many times as you so wish. And we encourage people to do that.
So it's not just a monthly thing.
It's not.
What about those who are possibly employed and also have a side hustle, as we call it in Kenya? What are there provisions for that?
There's provision for you to do voluntary contribution. Yes.
On top of what
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
now,
yeah.
You mentioned that the employer chips in. I do a certain percentage and the employer does a certain percentage.
Yes.
When I am contributing towards NSSF from my other side hustle, how does it work out?
Now, that's it's your contribution. Yes. It's your contribution, and there's no contribution of the part of the employer.
Okay, that would be tracked as under my NSSF number.
It will be tracked.
I don't have to create a separate account to do that.
It will be tracked under your NSSF number, but we've segregated it in our statements. So you'll clearly be able to track your voluntary contribution, your normal contribution, and what your employer gives.
Okay.
And that breakdown is what, by just a quick glance, gives you a chance to see whether your employer has been contributing or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at the payment method and how it is paid out. Once now somebody has retired, what is the procedure of the payment? Do I get a monthly allowance? Do I get a lump sum? How is it paid off?
Until we fully implement the Act, we'll still be deemed as a provident fund. We'll still be paying a lump sum. But ideally, the Act was intended to, once you retired, there's a portion of money you take with you, then you buy an annuity, either in the fund or within any other organization, so that you keep on getting monthly stipends. Yeah.
Okay. And then maybe some of those things, frequently asked questions that possibly people come and ask that you'd like us to address?
Number one, they normally ask about governance issues in the fund. I must assure the contributors that governance levels in NSSF are unprecedented. What keeps on being highlighted in the public domain are legacy issues. We've moved away from that, and our corporate governance levels are very high. Secondly, your money is safe with NSSF. Yes, we have a professional team of board members who offer oversight. We have a formidable team of managers who take care of your funds. Thirdly, and most importantly, we have a very robust quality management system. We are actually the first institution within the region in East and Central Africa to be certified in the new standard, the 2015 standard. Our QMS is working. Thirdly, and most importantly, the NSSF Act, even though it's in court, its objects are clearly outlined for the future of this country. That act is for Kenyans, not only for NSSF. And if you look at the objects of the act, it was intended to propel growth within the country. Where we sit now, NSSF controls 20% of the pension sector. And if we went to the new act, we would have created a pool of finances that would have created infrastructure, etc. Lastly, our investment portfolio is very diverse. We are moving away from the traditional investment asset classes. We are moving into private equity. We want to go into energy, things that will have immediate trickle effect to the society, as we also optimize the returns that will give the contributors.
All right.
Yes.
And finally, the AGM is taking place today. Is everybody welcome, every member welcome, or is it a selected number of members?
Every contributor is welcome. And that is why we put the notice in the newspaper for any member to come, and they'll have a chance in the plenary to give suggestions to management and the trustees on how they want us to invest their funds. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony Omerikwa, who is the CEO for the NSSF, and that is in regards to the AGM that's going to be taking place right here at the KICC where we are today, and it's going to be at the amphitheater. Remember, as a contributor, just like he has mentioned, you are welcome to attend the AGM and give your contribution in terms of ideas, and if you have any questions regarding your money, then you can definitely come and join in. Now, a quick reminder of the question that we are interacting on today before we wind up. And the question we were asking in regards to the president's speech that he gave, he pleaded with the opposition to stop politicking and, join hands with Jubilee and ensure that development agenda is continued. So that was the question that we were asking you, whether the opposition should heed to the president's call for them to stop politicking and join the government in ensuring that the development agenda is followed up. Now, some of your comments coming through. Innocent says that, the football industry, okay, this is to do with the NSSF, but we've already done with that. But Salimu says that, yes, it's about time that Kenya stopped the electioneering period and continued with the development of this country. Kenyans are hurting. We have Angel, who says, I agree that it is time for us to stop politicking. However, the opposition must keep the government on account. Thank you for your comments that have been coming through. But now it's time for us to say goodbye. And from us here at the KICC and the group and team that is working behind the scenes on Morning Express, we say a big thank you for watching and wish you all a fantastic day and a great weekend. Do stay with us right here on KTN News. We do have News Center that is lined up, that is coming up, and we certainly will be giving you more news and reviews. From me and the team that is here, we say a goodbye and wish you all a fantastic day, and God bless.